everyone. Welcome back. I hope you all had a good week. I'm glad you joined me again for our Pierce the Heart lessons in my home studio. This week I thought we'd do a simple beach still life, and let's talk a little bit about it before we get started and while people are joining us. So I set up a simple still life the other day when I was at the beach. And I like to use this subject when I'm teaching beginning still life drawing and also some beginning colored pencil drawing as well. And the reason why I like beach objects and beach toys for a beginner lesson is they're very simple shapes and people can have pretty good success beginning to draw these shapes. And it helps us to understand the concepts of layering. So when children are small, they will draw objects all over the page because they're still in what's called the symbolic stage. But as children age, after 7 or 8 years old, they want their work to look more realistic. And part of work being realistic is your subjects need to be layered and they have to make sense in space. Okay, so I think we can begin. Alrighty. This is a colored pencil lesson. I have about 10 colored pencils here that are basic colors to start with. If you're at home and you just have a graphite pencil, that's okay because you can follow along as well. We're going to start off, as usual, with me drawing very dark, but you will be drawing very lightly. And we want to get our basic shapes and forms in. We want the sizes to be correct, the proportion and the locations to be correct before we start any detail. And I think a lot of my students might be getting tired of hearing me say that, but it's really important. Okay, so I want to start with the pail. And as we've talked about in other lessons, we have ellipses. So I am going to draw, and I'm going to try to remember to draw dark because I usually draw light, as you know, so that you can see. I'm going to draw an ellipse for the top of my pail. Remember, you're going to be erasing these so that they're going to be very, very faint lines. So we have our first ellipse. We're going to drop our 2 lines down, and we're thinking about the angle. Is it straight or is it an angle? I'm going to leave a little space there for our shovel, and I'm going to do the curve at the bottom. Now, as we've talked about before, I want you to go all the way around. We're going to leave that for the shovel there, but in the part we see here, I want you to go around because later your pail will not look too flat. Okay, so there's our location of our pail. I'm going to just put the knobs there for the handle, and remember, I gotta remember to draw it dark so you guys can see, sorry, and up. Indication of our handle. How's the location? From here to here. How's our ellipse from here to here? And how's our distance from here to here? So I'm pretty happy with that, but I could go a little lower and make this a little longer. Sometimes it's a little hard for me to see from the side of the easel. You get the idea. Okay. Location of our shovel and our simple forms. So, simple form, right? It's that. Inside. 2 straight lines down. Where does the bottom of our shovel land? It's below our pail. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to put a line. So these lines are on an angle. an angle here. The top of the handle is the same angle as the shovel piece at the bottom, and 2 straight lines down. Remember, we're just figuring out our sizes, our shapes, our locations, our proportions. So this handle comes through here. My ellipse is this going to come out a little bit more. And the handle of the pail goes through the handle of the shovel. The space is good. Alrighty. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Let's depart from here and go to the beach ball. Now, if you're not comfortable drawing circles, that's okay. I have a lot of experience. I'd like you to begin to learn to draw them freehand and other shapes, but you can use a plate or a compass if you're more comfortable, because this circle is pretty straight on circle. There are no turns in it. So I'm going to not worry about going through that pail right now. I just want to get my circle. And how big is my circle for my beach ball? So depart from here, go up. Okay, I'm leaving some paper for the water behind. I hope I'm drawing dark enough. And then we say, okay, where's the location of the circle inside the beach ball where the colors meet? When we're working with the colored pencils in a little bit, we can perfect this circle if it's not perfect. And again, as I always say, drawings don't need to be perfect. So where does the pink line leave here, and where does it meet the pail? Where does this line meet here and here? And this line of the green where it meets the orange, where does that leave? Where's that? And where's that shape? Now I'm also going to put an area here to remind me to do the highlight. Okay, now we got down to our little friend the whale sand toy. I'm going to just make a circle for his head and a circle for the back of him. This is also a technique I use when I'm drawing dogs or animals. I'm going to join those 2 circles. Do the back of his tail. Again, I'm drawing very dark, but you're doing this very lightly. Up and around. So we see the side of the plastic toy. Let's draw that in now. What is the form of that? So we step back, take a look. If we had more time, I would take a little longer to see if I'm happy with all my shapes. Right now I can see that this shovel needs to be a little better, because I looked at this negative space and I said, I have too much negative space here. What's wrong? Yikes, this guy looks a little too squat. And this handle can come down. Your negative space is your best friend. There's a little bit of a curve here and here. Now the structure of the shovel is, we can give a little indication of the side of the shovel and across. Okay, we can make, let's look on the red part of the ball, a slight indication. Again, I'm drawing dark, you're drawing lightly, of the water beyond. And the other shoreline. Okay. I think we're ready to start with some color. So I'm going to take this off. Because I don't have time to erase these dark lines, I've prepared another one with light lines. As usual, if you've been to my classes before, you know this is our time-saving trick. Okay. Now with colored pencil, you need to start very lightly. And I know some of my younger students would get frustrated with this, that we have to build up layers. But you can't start very, very strong and hard with them. For beginner color pencil drawings, it's okay to use like the school colored pencils, but you will get one layer of color, maybe 2 or 3 out of them. If you want to draw with colored pencils seriously, I strongly suggest getting very good quality pencils, and that would be the Prismacolor Premier. You can blend many layers, and however, for tonight's beginner lesson, we're going to start with some basic pencil colors. So now, since your line should be light as well, and I'm going to start going over my lines with my colored pencils. So we have a green pail, and where these two meet, I'm going to just draw a little bit of a curve there so I get that nice edge. So we have a little bump here that holds the handle, and this one is a little less visible. So tonight I'm using maybe 10 colored pencils. But I don't, if a few of you have seen my other lessons, you've seen pictures of all my colored pencils out on the table. And I literally have over 200 that I use when I'm doing a large piece. I also like to use a new invention. They're watercolor pencils, and you can draw with them, then add water, and it will turn into a paint on your paper. However, I like to use them dry. They have wonderful blending qualities to them. So if you see watercolor pencils out there, I strongly urge you to try them. So this is the easy part, right? But I hope you can see on the camera, I'm just going very lightly, and I'm following the form of my pail. So my pail is rounded, so I'm doing my strokes in a rounded way. I'm going to, there's a lip on our beach pail, and I'm just going to put a little bit of light green in there. Now with colored pencil, it's almost impossible to put white on top of the pencil. So you need to leave your whites. And that's very similar to watercolor painting. Okay. So I have two greens. And this is a darker green that I'm just going to put a slight indication of shadow to start to make our pail rounded. Also, our pail has a cool detail at the bottom, a couple of ribs, so I'm going to draw those in now quick. And you can see I'm using the natural curve of my hand. I don't want to start with too much shading right now because I could spend an hour shading this pail. So let's get started on the shovel. So the shovel is a yellow, and not unlike a coloring book, just lightly put in your base color. If you're doing an object that is very complicated, like a dog or a cat or a horse, when you start with colored pencil, when you start your drawing with colored pencil, you find your base color, your lightest color, and that's the one you will lay in very gently first. Okay, we're going to go back and shade that if we have time. Okay, I'm going to go to my light blue. So the handle starts here, goes around that knob, goes through the handle of the shovel. I'm just going to put it in very lightly. We're going lightly because that's going to be the area that the sun is on the most. Because this is a beginner colored pencil drawing. And we can press a little harder for the details of the handle or where it's in shadow. And we'll come back to that. The most important thing is that you're having fun with it. Just try it. Play with it. Alrighty, so let us go on to the beach ball. So I have two reds here. And my lighter red I'm going to start to add, and I want to follow the form of the ball. Take your time and do it lightly. So since we can't use white on top of a colored pencil, I want to remember to leave this highlight right there. If by any chance you're doing a colored pencil drawing and you forget, which I've done, you can erase a little bit. Colored pencils are not easy to erase. You can try to erase a little bit, and then you can use a white pastel for your highlights. What's going to make this different than just a coloring book page is that I'm hoping we have enough time. I want to show you how to use a darker colored pencil in the same family to create a shadow and make your piece very three-dimensional. Now, also I want to tell you, when you're starting with your first layer of pencil like this, you don't need to be too crazy concerned with the directions of your strokes, because you're going to probably be going over this at least 5 times. If the circle you sketched isn't fabulous right now, you can use this time with your colored pencils to correct that more. See how I made that a little bit better there. I'm going to go to my yellow. Now I'm just going to move a little faster because I'm a little concerned about time. Let's get in that yellow. Let's get in that orange. Oh, don't forget your highlight. And if your circle of your beach ball is not completely round, perfectly round, that's okay, because maybe some air came out of it. Anything's possible. This is your art, your piece. There are no beach still life police out there. I wanted to do a blue-green. Where's my blue-green? In this one. I'm going to be careful of that circle for the whale. So now that I'm moving a little faster, you can see how I'm holding my pencil. We talk about this a lot in my classes. And let's just get in the pink. So you can see, compared to the subject, that the drawing that we are referring to, I have added some red down here. There are probably 5 layers of pink here. Let's go to our whale before we run out of time. So we're going to connect those circles. Let's get in his eye. Measure where his mouth is. Above. There. And the top of this toy is flat. So I'm just going to keep my strokes this way. And what's so wonderful about colored pencil is that you can correct things with another color. That's a bit more of an advanced technique, which we will touch upon in future lessons. I'm going to use my darker blue. I can find it. They have a tendency to roll away. Okay, I'll just use this blue for now. Oh, there it is, right in front of my nose. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of a darker blue on the side of the plastic toy. Okay. So you can see how we begin and how it develops into a more finished drawing when you have lots of time. And that's what I want you to enjoy with colored pencils, is take your time, relax, fill it in, do your shading so that it feels 3D. You'll be so surprised after you add more layers that the highlights really make it look alive and round. So I'm going to add in, I have some color here, and it's called Putty. And it's a wonderful, it's a Prismacolor pencil, but it's a wonderful color for sand. Now what you can do is lay in a few lines of indication of your pieces on the sand, or you can create a texture down here, and I made a note for myself so I could remember to tell you. If you've done texture rubs as a little child, they're still used by us adults. So in this front area, you can, and I don't have one here to show you, but in this front area, you can take something that has texture, plastic with bumps, and you can rub your colored pencil over it, and it'll give you the indication of sand and little pebbles up in front. And then as you're going away into the distance, you have a nice flat area of sand. You're not going to see the detail of all the rocks, right? So you can color all this area. I also have a slightly darker color. Now, French gray is a warm gray. It's almost like a brown. So I like to put that where there'd be more shadow. That helps our pieces belong in space and make sense on the page when you have some shadow. Maybe some coming from there. I'm going to use this sand color to help our shovel stand out a bit more. While we have a couple of minutes left, we will add our blue for our sea. I'm going to lay it in very soft and lightly. And if you take anything away from this class, I hope it is that you start off very, very lightly and build your layers. I'm going to use my dark green for the shoreline beyond. A little indication of shoreline. And if you're brave, but you can always erase it, I like to put maybe a little indication of people playing and digging in the sand. And again, just very simple shapes. Perhaps a sailboat. A sense of perspective and distance. Also, when you're doing your blue lightly, leave areas of white. That can be some of the white caps in the water. And if we have a couple of minutes now, I want to begin. I take a darker green, so the inside of your ellipse, of your pail, following the curve here. So this pail does not have a white lip, it's green, so I'm going to just do my light green again here. There might be a highlight of white, so I'm going to leave a little bit of white there. Well, you guys, I could do this for hours and hours, and I hope you do. I'd like you to have a sketchbook now that it's a nice weather and you can be outside. And anything you see, I'd like you to just start drawing it. The other day I just was looking at a pail and did a quick sketch. Sketching every day is very important for staying in practice. When I was in college, we had to have a one class, the professor required that we have a sketchbook and draw on it all the time. And of course, the night before we're supposed to hand it in, we're all in our dorm filling the pages up with drawings. He was no dummy. The next day when we handed them in, he knew that we had drawn them all the night before. And it wasn't until I got older that I understood what he wanted us to do. So although I didn't do it back in college, he taught me something very, very important. So get outside, draw shells, anything you see that you love. Get to know the forms and the shapes, and have fun. I'd love to see what you've done, so please share it with me. And if you have any questions or comments, of course, put them below. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.